We have just stopped in the first city of Brazil called Belem. And Belem is about 75 miles from the Atlantic Ocean up one of the Amazon rivers. There are many rivers and tributaries that do make part of the Amazon region, and Belem is one of the first major cities that is outside of the Atlantic Ocean going into the Amazon. Now, I was so surprised about this city. When I came upon it, there are massive amount of skyscrapers, and I think they said they had about 1.7 million population in Belem. And we had a choice. We would either take a city tour with all of this amazing architecture, not to mention the colonial old towns where they have amazing theaters and churches and all kinds of fantastic architecture, not to mention one of the largest markets in northern Brazil. And we had a choice of either going to a city tour or going to the Amazon. Well, we chose the Amazon because we're supposed to be going to a tribe and seeing how their way of life is. We chose to see the tribe in the Amazon. And along the way to this tribe was about an hour on the ship. We had guides that gave us all kinds of great information about Brazil. One of the things is that Brazil is the 7th largest economy in the world, which was news to me. And also there's about 210 million people that live in Brazil. And that's about 2/3 of the United States. So it's a very large population in Brazil that I was not aware of either. The other thing was on this river that we are on, from low tide to high tide is a difference of 10 feet. So that was kind of a mind blower for me. I, never been in a place where the difference in the tide was so high that I can remember. One of the reasons we signed up for this tour is we wanted to see the tribe. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures where there was a lot of houses, and some houses were on stilts, and they had docks and everything, so that's how so many people originally lived. And after a time, they had villages that had gone away from the shore, even though there are quite a few people still living on the water. So as we all got off the boats, we got in groups and went around with guides, and they took us to this one family. And there was this 75-year-old Brazilian that was showing us around his house, showing us around the woods. At one point, he was climbing into trees, bare hands, bare feet, didn't wear any shoes. Then we came across an acai tree, which is a palm tree. There are 1,200 different varieties of palm tree in Brazil. And the acai, which I didn't know anything about that berry 20 years ago, but they started exporting all around the world and especially to the United States, and it's kind of a household name now. And we all know that the acai berry has a lot of nutrients and antioxidants. And so what happened is this fellow that was showing us around his house, he climbed up an acai palm. Now, I didn't know much about them, but they're very skinny, about the size of bamboo. So he climbs up about 2/3 high, and he has to climb onto another tree to keep him from falling over because the tree starts bending. And these berries in the natural are being harvested only about twice a year. I think it was February and September. However, they've been able to genetically modify some of these plants so that they can produce berries throughout the year. There happened to be a tarantula that was out in the forest, and they gave all of us who wanted to a chance to hold it. Plus, they showed us how they made charcoal. And they put together some mud over a log, and they'd put the wood in the log with a couple of little holes on the top where they could burn the wood and make charcoal. They use so many different trees, plants, and herbs for medicinal purposes. When we all got back from the tour in the villages, we came back to the boat and boarded. And we tried to leave, but we couldn't. You ever have a day you wake up in the morning and you have an idea what's going to happen? And then it just doesn't turn out the way you expect. Well, this was one of those days. We'd all boarded the boat and we're heading back to the ship, but the boat was too heavy with all of the weight, and the tide had started going down about an hour and a half earlier. So they asked about 75 of us to get off the boat, which we did, and then they got another boat to pull to get it out of the mud. Well, that didn't seem to work. So another boat came, and the two boats then were trying to help us get away and out of the mud. And that didn't work either. So then they took a third boat and tried to get us out of the mud. And guess what? We were run amok. And it was pretty hilarious because this took place over about 2 hours before they started pulling out and trying to decide what to do. And all the time that this was going on, the tide was going down. There were a couple of people that were pretty upset, but most of us were just having a gay old time together. We were singing the 3-hour tour song from Gilligan's Island, and there was an area where there were some poles in part of the pier, and my friend and I got behind this like we were in prison, and we were yelling to get out and trying to do all kinds of things just to keep us captivated while they're trying to figure out a way to get the boat out. Well, long story short, they couldn't get the boat out. The rudder was still stuck in the water, and they had called for other vessels to pick us up. So we got on a vessel. We were supposed to be back at the ship at 6 o'clock in time to get ready for dinner, but we didn't return till about 9 o'clock. So it was quite an adventure, and it was something we didn't expect that day. But I will say it'll be a memory that I will remember forever. In closing, my wish for you is that you will love abundantly, protect your health, and be adventurous for life. You are beautiful. Let your light shine. Aloha.